Hey, do you know the true origins of policing in America? Or better yet, are you an officer that has ever been frustrated by the lack of respect and support from the communities that you serve? Well, listen, today I'm going to delve deep into these emotionally charged topics. All right, let's get into it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to The Human Side with yours truly, Officer Jill. And today I want to answer those questions for you, right? Now, we all know those are some extremely emotionally charged questions. And so I wouldn't dare take that on by myself. So today I brought in someone else to fall on the sword with me. My old partner and classmate from the police academy, my boy, Jed. Can we welcome him to The Human Side? What's up, Jed?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? I'm excited to be here. I've been watching you for a while and supporting, and I really am happy that you asked me to come be a part of this great show.
Yes, sir. We
Yeah.
here. We've been talking about it for a minute, y'all.
We have
We've been talking
only
about
2 years. Only 2 years.
We've been talking about it for a minute, and I had to take that first leap to
Yeah.
get us going, and then my boy is jumping on. So listen, we're going to talk about some of the big questions that everyone asks. The big one, I think that, and even some of you have asked me on some of my previous episodes, you have left comments on, hey, you really need to talk about the history of policing and why there is such a struggle between the community and law enforcement. So let's jump right into some of the history, right? I think a lot of people don't know this stuff. Even some officers may not know some of this stuff. We're going to start as far back as early colonial days, right? Early colonial watch systems, which was back in like the 1600s. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
1600s? OMGZ.
See, I didn't even know this. This was interesting to learn.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And I hope you guys are learning something. And listen, I'm just going to give you an overview, right? This is not, if you want it hardcore, go in and get it yourself. But so back in the 1600s, there were night watches, okay? Night watches were made up of men who either volunteered or they were punished. They were punished and were assigned to be patrol in certain areas.
Night
Now,
watch.
let's think about that. Can you imagine being punished and being expected to actually do a good job with something?
No, but as being a young rookie, I always felt night watch was punishment because I'm telling you, at 4 a.m. when the crickets are cricking and you're driving around and your training officer's like, "Are you awake?" You're like, "Oh yes, sir."
Right.
All you want to do is get some sleep.
Right. And that was a different time, totally different time. And the night watch officers, I'm going to call them officers, but the night watch people, the night watch people were known for doing a few things. Okay. Check this out. They were known for sleeping and, or we may or may not, no, okay, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
So they were known for sleeping and or drinking while on duty. Okay. So that kind of gives you an idea. This is kind of one of the first types, I guess, of policing, right? So we'll progress, right? We made some progress, and we go into the 1630s in Boston and around 1650 in New York, okay? Where their job was to protect the wealthy, all right? Is that similar? I don't know. It could be, right? It could be. I guess it depends who you're talking to, right? So wealthy colonists hired private protection, often former criminals.
Interesting.
Right? They hired former criminals to protect them. That is very interesting. So then we progress. We keep going with the history, and it's just kind of building on. So we get to around 1704, where I think a lot of, and I think most of you would agree, this is where a lot of that trauma and unfortunately passed down trauma was created. Okay. Right. So we go into, particularly in the South, around 1704, where slave patrols were created.
Yeah. And this is what I was educated on, and this is where I knew.
Right.
Research.
Right. And that's usually kind of the basics of what the basis the basis of what we are usually taught about past policing. So slave patrols were the first form of structured policing, which was formed in Carolina. Okay. Their task was hunting runaway slaves and maintaining order on plantations. They operated with weapons and extreme force, such as whips and things like that. And unfortunately, these same slave patrols kind of evolved into white supremacist groups and the likes of like KKK post the Civil War. Now, again, these are the part of the history that we're usually familiar with. Now, there was a huge transition where major cities began forming actual structured police departments around the 1800s. Now, with that being said, we can't forget in 1829, Sir Robert Peel, who created the Peelian Principles. Okay, he was considered to be a foundational influence on community policing, and he emphasized that the police's primary role is to prevent crime and maintain order by gaining public trust and cooperation. Whereas before, it was more of a law and order. We don't need the community's help.
Right.
We're just gonna enforce, and y'all gonna roll with it.
Either you're gonna like it or it is what it is.
Exactly. And big reform came around 1900 by a gentleman by the name of August Vollmer. August Vollmer, in the early 1900s, he created one of the first ideas of militarized policing.
Okay.
Right? And military style policing basically is the style of policing across America. Okay. So that started in 1900s from him. What do you think is a more efficient way of policing? Is it the law and order, or is it the community policing? Or I'll even give you a third option because I'm fair, right? Because I'm nice. A combination of all three.
All right, well, partner, because you were so nice, I'm gonna have to go with all three. No, actually, I'm gonna take that back. And I think as an officer, you evolve, and as a person, you evolve. So when you come out of the academy, you're just taught things, and you're just kind of robotic.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get seasoned and you deal with people, and you start to really understand how our differences impact different communities. And I think you bring a more humanistic approach. And it's good when officers show that human side and they can relate to people and people can feel comfortable opening up.
Right.
I definitely think community because, I think back to when, you and I worked, there was a pretty big case that we had the community help us solve. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to solve it. And it was kind of like we solved it in like 2 days. And it was like they trusted us. They came and said, hey, you need to look over here. Because, the person that has all that stuff is over here.
Give us a quick, if you can, a quick overview, right, of what actually happened so that people know how the community actually helped us. Because I agree with, I think it's a good combination of both. Right. That's my personal opinion. But I do think that it weighs heavy on the community side. So I guess to kind of explain why the community involvement was so important. What happened? I think it was a burglary, right?
It was a burglary of a department store, but it was a pretty big one. And like I said, the community, we built up that equity of trust. So when it happened, word spread. Mm-hmm. And one by one, people started approaching us. They didn't want to approach us in public, but they approached us off to the side. Right. And within, like I said, I think it was in 48 hours, we had that person locked up. Like 90% of the merchandise was recovered. So without them, we would not have known where to look or where to start. It just would have been a needle in a haystack. Right. So after that, like my whole perspective changed on community policing and understand that it is truly, a duality, and we need them and they need us.
So would you say prior to that, since you said that before were you weighing more heavy on law and order?
I was.
Yeah?
We showed
Why? Why did you have that perspective? What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's, again, everybody's different, but I was like, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and we're going to show up, we're going to be professional, but we're going to do our job. All right? And we're going to ask the questions, we're going to ask the fact, hey, just the facts, don't need all the extras.
Just the facts.
Just the fact it is, we're going to show up, ask these questions. Yes. We're going to ask these questions. They're going to tell us about, this time back in 1984. I ain't got time for all that, man. Just tell me what happened today. Well, you got to have a basis of, I'm like, nah, man, I got time for that. What happened today? So, I think, like I said, at first, early in your career, you were just kind of robotic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't show that humanistic side. And then, as you work a certain area, the community gets used to officers. Officers, we get used to certain, and we used to have our frequent flyers that we used to call them,
Yeah. They knew us by name. We knew them by name.
I
Right.
knew their names, DOBs,
Right.
driver license numbers.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think once that trust is built up, and I talk about equity,
Yeah.
there begins trust.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
Do you think, you had to guess, obviously you don't speak for every single officer, but in your expert opinion and your experience, do you think most officers weigh in the law and order side or the community policing side?
Well, that's a good question. I can honestly say I don't know. I would hope everybody grows, kind of like myself. What is the enemy of growth? Stagnation. So you're going to become a better officer, a better investigator, a better person. How do you do your job and effectively? One of the things our job are these things called core values, and one of them is getting better. So
Improvement, for sure.
Improvement.
Right.
So if you're going to improve, then you need to look at areas or work on areas that can help you improve. And one is involving the community.
Yeah.
So understanding and, working with your fellow coworkers,
Yeah.
Working with a thing called a senior lead officer, because they will probably know problem areas or problem people that might be able to help you better affect and, resolve communities in your program.
Yeah. Thanks for that. When I learned that Robert Peel was the person that created community policing, one of the things I think about is how that changed everything, right? That was so revolutionizing. There's not a police department in America that I can think of that doesn't practice community style policing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was actually, might be kind of corny, but it was actually kind of encouraging because it took that one man that had a vision of seeing something better based on the past, i.e. slave patrols, i.e. Civil rights, right? He saw all that and he said, hey, this is not working.
Absolutely. Just being officers, I'm sure he was met with, I'm sure when that's how we are, we're very, sometimes when you introduce new concepts to us, we're just like, oh, God, really?
Look, I was at a conference a few weeks ago in Atlanta, and it was a it was like a training, not a conference, it was a training, and it was actually an emotional intelligence class, okay? And one of the officers said a phrase that I had my first time hearing this particular phrase. He said, there's only one thing that officers don't like more than change.
Ooh, what's that?
And that is the way things are. Right?
Yes.
And I was like, bro,
that makes sense.
If that's not
we
the
will
truth,
complain.
I don't know what the truth is.
But then we complain about status quo. Like, why will this change?
Yeah.
And then when change gets brought,
My
like,
goodness.
Oh, God, are you serious?
My goodness. And I mean, look, people,
more to do.
Right. As human beings, we are not always quick to change. No one likes to change, really, right? Officers are the same because we're just humans, right? But when he said that, I was like, yo, that is so true. We don't like the way things are, but no, we're not changing though. Why would we change that? We've been doing that forever. Right. That's the way it's always been.
You're going to complain.
Right?
Like,
That's the way it's always been.
This guy.
But ultimately, this man, Austin, saw that there needed to be a change. This was not working. And it was such a good change that we have kept it all the way until 2025.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. That's a long time.
It is.
That's a long time to keep a model, right, of policing. So obviously there are elements
but you know what? I wonder, even though it was introduced, I wonder how long it took to
actually be fully adopted, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it took a while. Took a minute. I think it took a
I'm
minute.
sure it took. I mean, I think you're being very generous with a minute. I'm sure it took
Well, you know what
forever, like the Sandlot,
right.
forever.
Yeah, it took a while, but you know what? Even and we're just having conversation, like even as I think about that, one of the things that I do is I coach folks, right? I
Mhm.
give coaching to event officers, and I like to focus in the area of emotional intelligence. I believe that if we implemented, we meaning policing, right? Police departments, if we implemented more training in the area of emotional intelligence, or if we just matched our tactical training, because we do a lot of tactical training, right? Now,
Absolutely.
obviously, this is you know based on your department, right, and which
Yeah.
funds are available, right?
And,
But I
and
know
we
for
are the
us,
best. We are the
we are
best.
our
Don't
department.
don't trip. We are the best.
Our department, we weigh very heavy on tactics, which is we should. It's important. Our job is very dangerous. The city in LA, things jump off. You
Quickly.
guys all know. You've seen
Yeah,
it.
it
And
escalates.
it's
Yeah.
real. So, but I think if we balanced the tactical with the emotional intelligence training, which is essentially your ability to identify the emotions both in yourself and others, using that information to now determine how you respond, right?
Mhm.
In areas of self-awareness, self-regulation, right? Your emotional regulation, stress management, right?
Yeah.
Decision making. If we put more focus or add more to the developing of that in officers, I believe we can transition from this this model of policing that we're in now to something even bigger. I mean, we can call it community policing 2.0. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name would be, but I honestly think we can upgrade where we are if we were to do that.
Well, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah,
Always room for growth. And
for
like I
sure.
said, stagnation is the enemy of growth. So if, you know, I will say, one thing that we do talk about is improvement and growth, but it is imperative on every officer to
Mhm.
take that step,
Yeah.
and initiate that, to see it, to actually want it,
Mhm.
and to actually understand that, you have the ability to change somebody's perspective
Mhm.
one day at a time. One interaction can change
Yep.
someone's
Every single yep.
trajectory, positive or negative,
Right.
about you, about who you represent,
Mhm.
and yeah, type of person you are.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. It's just something I'm on a little tangent there, but I think it's
Yeah,
obviously I'm very passionate about it.
yeah. You have found your
Very
calling.
passionate about it, y'all. So join me. And if you want any coaching, I'll let you girl. I'll put the information in the bottom. So we're transitioning a little bit.
Let's transition.
So,
Here we go.
we will transition a bit. So I mentioned early on, right? One of the questions I mentioned that this is something that's an emotionally charged topic. Okay.
Absolutely.
Unless you've been living under a rock for the past, you know, 2,000 years, or unless you've been living on a rock for quite some time,
Yeah.
you would not be aware that one of the biggest struggles or relationship struggles with law enforcement has been between us and the Black community.
Absolutely.
And as we went over the history, I think it's very easy to understand why, right? There has been unfortunately, a lot of passed down trauma for generations and generations, from whether it was slave catchers or civil rights, right? Definitely, people I think miss the fact that trauma can be passed down, unfortunately, and it has been, right? And so I think in some instances, some good, some bad, people have created a perception based on those passed down traumas. Not to say that they haven't experienced it, right? Some have also experienced it.
Also, to add on to that, passed down, but also personal.
Yeah,
So
their own personal experience.
exactly. So you get that
Yeah,
passed down. You see the stuff in the movies, or
yeah.
you hear about it in the music, and
Media,
then in
news.
the media, yeah,
Mhm.
and then you have a personal interaction
Mhm.
where a lot of times, um, like I remember some of my personal experiences, but looking back 15, 20 years later, I was like,
Mhm.
I had a lot to contribute to that.
Right.
But when you're
Would
in
you care to
there,
share?
yeah, well, so I grew up a I like to say in the South. So, one of the small town kid, one of the biggest reason kids get in trouble in a small town is boredom.
Boredom.
Boredom is
I thought you was gonna say
enemy
something.
of no. It is the enemy
Boredom, huh? So wait,
of.
cow tipping is really a thing?
Oh man, it's fun. Don't trip, But growing up, one of the things that we used to do was TP in people's houses,
Yeah.
throwing eggs.
Right, right,
Um,
right, right.
so I got into that,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a very distinctive car, very
Okay.
distinctive. Dual exhaust, sky blue bug.
Okay.
That just stands out.
Okay.
And like you could hear my exhaust coming down. So I was a dummy that I'll drive, And there was always a commonality at these things happening when people are getting their houses egged and their trees are getting TP. There was always a blue Volkswagen seen leaving the area.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
and one of the things that like I said, taking a perspective back and being emotionally intelligent and looking at the situation, one of the things that we always talk about or people don't know is as officers, we talk about things that have happened the day before or things to look out for
Right.
or
Absolutely.
hey, this happened, this car was seen in the area, et cetera. But I was getting pulled over.
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting followed,
Why did they harass you?
exactly, man. This out here, and they just ain't got nothing else to do but just mess with me. But again, like I said, I just was in the moment, and I didn't think about my past behavior has contributed to what was going on.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about what's happening right here and now. You know, so like I said. And then I started having these negative interactions, and then my perspective changed, and I was getting, very short, or I shouldn't even say short. I was just getting very like down, and just my whole attitude toward law enforcement changed. Whereas,
In a bad way, you're saying once after that experience.
absolutely,
Okay.
and like I said. Taking a step back now, you see the whole totality of everything. But I was just, especially when you're a kid, you're just in your field.
Yeah.
You just know about what's happening
to me right now.
right here, right now.
That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you
that's all that
don't
matters.
take in the perspective of everything. So
Yeah.
it was just, this is it. This is why they messing with me. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah,
Well,
blah.
did you think they were messing with you because you're black?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, like I said, I wasn't taking into consideration that I had a huge, and matter of fact, one guy even followed me,
What, one of the houses that you TP'd?
Yeah, he was oh God, it's bad. He was out washing his truck, and my friend threw a couple of eggs out the window, hit his brand new truck.
Oh.
Now he's in the driveway washing his.
Oh my
we
God.
just throw eggs.
That's a good way to get
That
shot.
man, oh my gosh,
That's a good way
he
to get
jumped
shot.
in his truck and he followed. My heart was going.
Yeah.
Doo, 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 doo. And I wanted to wring my friend's neck, but again, I'm sure he filed a police report. I'm sure he told, them, hey, there was this blue Volkswagen, So, like I said, a couple of weeks later, I'm getting, there see my sky blue bug.
Yeah.
Hey,
There goes that. There goes that car we just heard about.
I wonder what he's getting ready to do. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and with that being said, right? So even based on, obviously, at some point you transitioned to changing your perspective and wanting to, come into this profession.
Yeah.
What was it that then now has had changed? Whereas back then as a kid, even though you were doing some janky stuff that called for you to get caught up, what transitioned to you not, I guess, having this negative perspective to wanting to be the police officer, be the police?
I think just life. Because growing up, the first memory I can have is Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop. Like I wanted to
Of
be
course.
Axel
Of course
Foley.
that's what
I
you
wanted to be
of
Axel
course.
Foley out
Of
here.
course
You see
that's
what
who
I'm
you
saying?
thought you were.
Exactly. I
But
wanted to solve the crimes and I'm not gonna fall for the banana in them tailpipe. I wanted to be the guy out here catching the bad
yeah.
guys and having a good time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Lethal Weapon,
Yeah.
Danny Glover, I'm too old for
Right.
this.
Media.
Yeah, Carl
Media,
Weathers. So
TV.
I think, one thing we have to do is we have to understand, and just like I thought the Cosby Show was revolutionary,
Mm-hmm.
the media and positive images have a huge impact
Yeah.
on society, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Positive and
'Cause-
negative. They basically paint the picture of what
yeah,
people
but they also plant seeds.
Yeah.
As a kid, I didn't know, but I had these seeds planted.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to germinate, But I mean, the reason I went to college is because a different world. I saw that. I was like, "Psh, I'm going to college. You know what I'm saying? I want to get me a Whitley out here, But I think what changed is I think life. So I started having these negative interactions, but then, you get older. And honestly, when I came out here to Los Angeles, I didn't have any problem with the bully. It was like a clean sheet,
No one
Again,
knew, no one knew the blue bug.
no one knew the
No one knew
notorious
the blue
BUG,
bug.
But again, I was just doing minor, troublesome stuff. But
Yeah.
still, it was
Yeah.
not productive.
Right.
But you're coming out here, and I was like, okay, I'm in college. I need to be about something. And I was like, this is LA, and I'm not about to, do that and mess around and get
Right.
have a
Right.
huge misunderstanding.
Right.
So
Get right.
I grew up, matured, and then being an educator, I was in class, and we had a career day, and one of my students' parents came in uniform, looking sharp, showed the car, and it was just like it happened again. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, like, yo, you used to want to do this.
Yeah.
What happened? And then I just started researching and getting involved again. And then it was just like full steam ahead.
Funny. Wow. So you were a teacher. We've got to tell people you were a teacher before
Oof.
becoming a police
Yeah.
officer.
Oh my
And it's funny you
gosh.
say that. We both our calling or that birth to fulfill this dream both occurred in a school. Mine was in the 3rd grade, but through the DARE program. But it's kind of cool.
A DARE officer came?
Yeah, man. The DARE program came and that was it. I was hook, line, and sinker.
Wow. So you're
Hook, line,
saying
and sinker from
the DARE program
That was it.
actually worked.
It did.
They got rid of
They need
it,
to bring it back.
but the
They
DARE
totally need to bring it
program
back.
actually worked.
It did. At
And
least
I
for
bet
me.
it worked more than just you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
And what was it about the DARE program, the DARE officer? What do you
Well,
remember?
What do I remember? I remember being selected out of all of the kids there on the blacktop at the assembly, right? Who wants to speak on the loudspeaker? Of course, every kid's hand goes up, right?
Absolutely.
Every kid.
Yeah.
Whatever reason, he chose me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Right? And so I go, I remember sitting in the police car. My feet are dangling because I'm so small in 3rd grade, right? Literally. And I think about that now, how we sit in the car, but my feet are dangling and I'm looking at all the buttons and the lights and this and then that. And I'm scared to talk on the speaker. And he's, what do I say? He's like, just say your name. Jill. Right? But just in that moment, right? I just fell in love with everything that it represented. And so obviously as I got older, my reasons matured with me. And we're going to talk about, just kind of some of the things. Let's talk about what it's like, right? We're both two proud Black Americans who are also two proud police officers in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
What has it been like, right?
Mhm.
Being a Black police officer? It's a loaded question.
It is.
It's a loaded question. What do you think?
The duality of it is it's great, and some days are better than others.
Mhm.
We have a responsibility, I think, different than some other officers because, a lot of trust is put on us just being an officer, but also,
Who's that trust from?
the community.
Yeah.
But it's all communities.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is nice when our community, especially, is proud.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you
And
remember
our meaning,
our
the
black community.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I don't know if you remember. We were eating one time, and this older black couple. When we got done paying for our bill, we're getting up, we're walking out, and they stopped us and said, "It's so nice to see you two out here. Keep doing the good work."
I don't remember that.
You don't
but
remember
I
that?
believe it. No,
It was in a barbecue joint. We were leaving the barbecue joint,
of course.
But we were leaving the restaurant, and they stopped us and just said, "It's so nice to see you two out here. Keep up the good work. We're proud of you."
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen all the time,
Yeah.
especially that was pre 2020. But yeah, it made it's something that I remember.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it's
Absolutely.
good. Yeah, and then some days are tough.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. When it happened, the incident in Memphis.
Mm.
The incident in Memphis, where a lot of black officers were involved in the
that
death
really
of
hurt.
was it Tyree Nichols. Tyree Nichols. And I mean, it was almost immediate. I think when everything kind of hit, and we called each other and was like, "Yo, did you see what those officers did to that poor boy?"
And it just helped add to the narrative of just law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd always say, "Hey, if there's more of us there, these type of things won't happen." And that's why we need more
representation.
Exactly. On the department.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was floored. And
disappointed for me, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Disappointed. And even more disappointed, not only because it's officers. I think whenever an officer is involved in something that looks bad, and granted, and I'm big on when we see that video or that soundbite, get all the information first. I tell people that all the time. And there's very few times where I think you can see something. I mean, very small times you can see something like, yeah, no, that one was exactly what it looked like. And that one was that, right? Especially that back end after they chased him, and it's just constant, just beat down, kicks, everything. And I was disappointed only because they were officers, but I was disappointed because they were black officers.
Absolutely.
Right? And like you said, we have
no one took control of the situation.
Yeah.
No one, and things that are kind of drilled, not things that are drilled into us. We're like, okay, man, we get it. Jeez, relax. But then when you see it, and you see it from a perspective where there is none, no one took command, no one took control.
Yeah.
No one said, dial it down.
Or stop.
Exactly.
Get the dial down.
Yes.
That's enough.
That's what I meant.
We have
Stop. Let's get this guy medical attention.
Yeah.
It's over. Check yourself. If you need to go stand over there, go stand over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so things are like that are drilled into us, and then when we don't see it happen, now I understand. Oh, this is what they're talking about.
Let's talk about, and this is something that we have experienced from working together, driving around, the perceived betrayal that we get, right?
The sellouts.
Right? The Uncle Tom. You ever been called the Uncle Tom?
Oof. Or, they usually start, oh, here you go. We show up on scene, oh, this, here.
Right. How I know how I have been able to navigate that.
Please share, because I want to hear it, because you know me, and we were, if you guys don't know, we were like, best way to describe Jill and I is fire and ice, hot and cold.
Yes.
She was cold, I was hot.
And I kept us balanced. And
yes,
I
absolutely.
kept us our job.
I mean, there was times when I was like, yeah, we need to turn it up. She would turn it up. And there was time when she was like, you need to dial it back. I'm like, okay. But I want to hear, because you know how I used
Well,
to react. How about you?
I'll say for me, it hasn't always been something I've been able to navigate easily. I would say early in my career, I struggled with trying to have that balance
Really? I didn't know
of
that.
yeah.
You always were so cool. It just seemed
Hey,
like nothing bothered you, you know?
listen, I guess I got a
So
good poker face, bro.
you do. You do. Because I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Yeah.
So they knew. That was just, I think that was no, I don't think. That was something that was like touchy. And
Yeah.
just,
It's a
like,
challenge.
man, we just got here. Like, are you
Right,
serious?
right. And that's why it was challenging for me because like, yo, I'm doing this because I want
We care.
yeah, exactly. I'm doing this because I care. I want to protect you as the community. I want to show you that hey, police officers are good people.
Yeah.
I want to show you that not every officer is that quote unquote racist.
Yeah.
And so when I come on scene and all you doing is questioning my blackness and whether and tell me I'm a sellout. For me at the time when I first started, it was I ain't gonna lie, I would be a little heated in the inside. Low key, I would. I'd be like, yo, are you serious?
Yeah.
You-
Like you're out here committing crime,
yeah.
but and you know what?
You got the nerve.
Yes, the temerity.
gall.
Yeah, Stephen A. The temerity. But one of the thing that I'm like, we show up, and all of a sudden, the anger from the officers that initially
Mhm.
had them detained
Mhm.
would shift to us.
right.
Like, you remember,
right.
like all their rage
right. Right.
and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We are the
Yeah.
focus of
Yeah.
all the explicatives and all their anger.
They,
It's just
they
like,
felt that we were sellouts. But I over time, I started to mature. And I think that's where the emotional intelligence come in.
Mhm.
That self-awareness. And I started to realize that, hey, Jill, it's not you. It's not personal. And I also think that's something just as a new officer, you have to learn that those interactions where people are upset, they're not personal. They're based on, or they're occurring because of that situation. More than likely, the reason that you are there is because something really bad has happened
Yeah.
that involved them or their family member or a friend. So their emotions are high. And so it's not personal. It's not you specifically. And I had to learn that, like, okay, this is not about me. This is about whatever's going on in their life. This is about, their son that just got shot. This is about, whatever it was, their dad, their uncle, their cousin, whoever is being taken to jail for whatever the reason is. It's not about me personally. And I had to learn that over time.
and unlike firefighters, like firefighters show up, everybody's happy. Everybody's clapping and happy and cheerful. But when we show up, like you said,
Yeah.
stuff is going
It's
on.
different.
It's not hugs and kisses. So when we show up, you say that the scene's already emotionally charged.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And something's gone wrong. We
Mhm.
show up, all of a sudden we are, and then my training officer said something that I didn't get when I was a young officer.
Mm.
And like you said, it wasn't until the growth happened. It's not personal. When you put on that uniform, you're not a color anymore.
No.
You represent something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like you said, it was because of the uniform.
Yeah.
I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Yeah.
It's hard not to take it personal.
Yeah. And we
hard.
talked about the history of what that badge, quote unquote,
Means.
represents
Yeah.
to most people, unfortunately, and especially those of color. We're here at the studio, right?
Yeah.
And I want to call a quick audible.
Oh.
Quick audible. You cool with the audible?
Oh.
Quick audible.
Tom Brady.
We're here with our boy Solomon. Okay.
Solomon.
I'm the audible.
You're the audible, Solomon. I think this is a perfect time. As you guys see, Solomon is a black male as well, right?
Let's go.
Unless I'm wrong.
Well, there's some Filipino in there. but
Okay,
you
it's
wouldn't
all
notice.
right. Usually people will see, they will say, oh, you will say you're a black male. More people will relate to you as a black male.
Right.
Yes, Solomon.
Let's go, Solomon.
I
Let's
get
go.
applause for being
You
black.
get applause out here.
Solomon. So look, let me ask you,
Yes.
have you ever had that type of thought at any point in your lifetime? Let's say my partner and I show up,
Yes.
2 black officers.
Yes.
Have you ever had that thought of like, look at these sellouts?
No, not
No?
really. Not
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
had negative experiences,
Yeah.
but no, I've never looked at black officers and thought they're sellouts.
No? All right. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can you give us a brief, maybe one of your bad experiences, if you can
Well,
share?
most of them were when I was, high school age in my 20s. But
Okay.
well, okay, so I'll give you one. We were DJs, me, my brother, and a few friends of mine, right?
Mhm.
And so we had all our equipment and stuff, and we were doing a party in a Chinese restaurant downtown LA.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, uh, party was over. We're taking our equipment to the car. Cops pull up. They see a whole bunch of black kids pulling out stereo equipment out of the back of a Chinese restaurant
Oh
into
gosh,
putting it
yes.
in this thing in the alley, right?
Right.
Right.
Say
And
less.
and so we get the whole, turn around, walk towards me thing, all of this, right? And I was a kid. I had never like really had any interactions with police. And I remember like this, and I remember I felt my jacket coming up and I reached to pull it down.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled guns on me so fast.
Oh, yes.
And the officer had explained to me later, he said there was something that happened there a night ago, a shooting or whatever, and he looked emotional. He was like, I was about to kill you.
Oh wow.
And that stuck with me. And that wasn't necessarily negative, but I've had
Yeah.
situations where officers, I'm driving around Irvine, they pull you over because you're black in the wrong neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
or like when I was in high school, I'm on the bus stop, I nodded at a police officer and he thought I was throwing up
Right.
signs or
Like, where
whatever.
you
So they
from?
pull me over, they come get out of the car and do all of that
Yeah.
stuff. And so, but my growing up, we were always taught we never believed in the police officers are here to serve you.
Mhm.
Police officers are here to harass you, keep you in line, this and this and that. And to be honest, I'm 57. It's never changed to me. But
Mm,
uh I feel like though it's individual, right? It's
yeah.
because you officers individually have, whether it's a power trip or whether it's a racial thing or whatever, they have this ability or this thing where they just want to give you a hard time.
Mhm.
And the thing is, there are good officers, you just don't know which one you're going to get. And
Mm.
so you're always going, okay, I'd rather not deal with any of them. I
Right.
don't believe a police officer is here to serve me or
Right.
whatever, unless they come and prove it to you. Unless you
Mm.
look at them and you're driving by, I'm on my bike and a police officer goes by and he smiles at you or waves, then you're going, okay, yeah. But I believe it's still a very individual thing. But I'm
Mm.
just still erring on the side of caution because that's how I grew up.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
listen, thanks, man. I just, we're sitting here and we're talking about this, and obviously Solomon is not a police officer. He's the engineer man back there on the ones and twos. And I was like, you know what? I love asking people what their thoughts are on these type of, topics. And so thanks, Solomon. I think
Yes.
that gives a
Sure.
lot of insight.
And that was honest.
Yeah.
He talked about what we
Yeah.
were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Over kind of like me. You have 2 or 3 experiences, and then all of a sudden you're like, man,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And unfortunately, and that kind of what I said earlier, that's why we have to have more positive interactions.
Yeah.
And that's why one interaction can change
Yep.
someone's perspective, good or bad.
Either
or,
way.
as he said, a lasting. Like you
Yeah.
said, he would, that line that officer said, I was about to shoot you, stay with him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that. And he touched on a couple of things where we can kind of transition into this. Some of the quote unquote stereotypes, right, that exist in law enforcement, right? Like you mentioned power trips,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bully.
power hungry, right? That most officers are power hungry, they're corrupt, they're racist, or this one, right? Hear this one a lot. They were bullied as a kid, so they joined the department to bully other people. And it's funny. It's not funny, but ironically, I had a previous guest, Justin. Go ahead and check it out. It was a great interview with him. He had a lot of good. He was very vulnerable about wellness and suicide and things like that. But
Shout out to Justin.
yes, he talked about how he was bullied or picked on in high school. And I asked him, and as he's telling me this, and I didn't know him, he's an officer from Minnesota
Nice.
who wasn't too far from the George Floyd. So obviously we talked about that whole incident. And when he told me that he joined the police department for that, my first question was, hey, so people complain about this type of thing. Did you join the police department to bully other people. And I asked
Yeah,
him
what was
straight
his,
like that,
yeah, what was his
right?
answer?
And he said he had I loved his answer. He said, you know what, honestly, and I'm just going to paraphrase. Essentially, he said, no, I joined it because I wanted to help those who were me, who were being bullied, and to actually put those people in jail. Meaning, I wanted to help the victims who are being bullied by the suspects and the people who were victimizing them. So he had the desire to help people who were like him, if that makes sense, right? And
That's
so,
awesome.
but we talk about some of the stereotypes, and generally, a stereotype is something that is usually not true, ultimately. But is there? I guess the question is, what are some of the stereotypes that you think you may have been accused of? Can you think of any? What do you
Well,
think?
I know one that I started to, you know, the badge. There comes. I mean, it's corny, but what's that line from Spider-Man? With great responsibility comes
Great power
with
comes great
great power
responsibility.
comes great responsibility. And
Yeah,
when we're given the badge and the
yeah,
gun, we're given great power.
true.
And that power can be intoxicating at times,
Yeah, for people who
But
can't handle it,
exactly,
absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And me personally, I think there should be like you should come on the job when you're 24, 25, when you've had a little more experience. When you're 20, and I've been there I was a senior officer and there's a young officer, and this guy goes, man, I've got kids older than you. You can't
Right,
talk to me.
right,
What life experience can you talk to me about?
right.
And he was just shutting this officer down. And they were doing their best to try to, I said, hey, you know what? Let me take over. And I said, hey, you know what? We're about the same age. I got kids, et cetera, et
Mhm,
cetera. And I was able to help smooth that process over. But
mhm.
one thing I will say is I think as a young officer, it was like, oh, no, you're going to do what I say.
Yeah,
How dare you say no? I
and
said,
that's that power,
it is.
power trip. Yeah,
And I had
yeah,
to check myself.
yeah,
And a good partner also will help you
yeah.
check yourself. But I think that, and one thing is we desensitize ourselves, or the
Mm,
job helps desensitize us.
mm,
Just the nature of the radio calls that we show up
mhm,
to. And
mhm.
also when you put on that uniform, it's like you put on the uniform, you put on your shades, and it's just like you just kind of, you know,
Yeah,
we show each other that human side, but when we show up, it's yeah,
yeah.
how can we? And I you remember this radio call where this lady said, and I couldn't
Which
even laugh.
what? Oh God, which
Yeah,
one?
she was like, and that officer looked like he wasn't even paying attention because I had my shades on. And I remember, arms, the police, arms crossed, shades on. And I was just like, oh my God, can we leave now?
Like,
You were
I don't
talking.
remember all these things. I really
remember
don't. I
because
remember all of
she
it.
said it, and I was like, dang, I did,
You
like,
remember because she was right.
yes.
Yeah,
And I had to
yeah,
say, okay,
yeah,
obviously
yeah, yeah.
my demeanor, my
Mm-hmm.
facial,
Mm-hmm.
like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I can't hide my emotions. So even though I had my shades on, clearly she could tell
She
that,
read your body disposition.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was
nonverbal communication is the
mhm,
biggest form of communication.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And then as you say that, I'm thinking about another incident, but I'm not going to go into that one. That I
oh,
did the same thing, right?
whoa, hold
But
on now,
hey,
come
but
on.
listen, that's where that emotional intelligence comes in.
Yeah,
That self awareness, right? You have to catch yourself, right, and
absolutely.
transition out of that because we're human and we're going to respond that way.
Yeah.
Especially if you go to so many calls and um, they're full of crap sometimes, and you
Mm.
can see the crap, and you're like, oh, but I still have to go. I still have to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
But
yeah,
the trick comes in, you can't let that affect your next call.
absolutely. Yeah.
You can't bring that negative
Hmm.
baggage to the next call because the next call could be something genuine and you're just like, come on, man, why are we here?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. No crime?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, you know?
Yeah.
So
True that. True that. Let's transition into what are some things that you think can change. Now we talked about the history of law enforcement. We talked about why the relationship is uh, on that struggle bus between law enforcement and the Black community.
yeah, absolutely.
and we talked about just some of the stereotypes, things like that, and what it's been like for us in
Mhm.
working in a field that has been frowned upon. um,
Especially as of lately, you know.
yeah, that has been frowned upon. What are some suggestions, or what are some things that you think that we can do as a whole in policing?
Ooh.
That this
Okay,
guy
here
and
we
his buttons.
go. Love
What do
these
you think?
buttons.
What do you think are some things that we can do as a whole to improve this relationship?
I think we have to continue to strengthen community policing. I
Mhm.
think we have to continue. I think there are some things that I think we should go back to. We should look into doing foot beats. And I know they say sometimes, oh, officer safety is not as, but
What is a foot beat?
it's when, oh, I'm glad you said it. I guess I'm using jargon here. Where, like, if you and I would go and we work a certain neighborhood, we park our car, get out, and walk. Because when you're driving, besides a nod, people don't really see. And you got your shades on, you're not,
Yeah.
unless you stop. And if you, and let's just be real, if you and I pull up on somebody and we say, hey, how you doing? First thing is going to be this kind of like
What do you,
clause or
right.
what do you want? Why are you talking to me?
Yeah, that actually, now I actually remember us
See?
doing that, right?
Yeah,
There were
we
some
just
kids.
we'd be talking and just
Yeah.
trying to, chop
We
it
just
up.
stopped, said, "What's up?" They look like, "What do we do?" Nothing. I just said hi,
Yeah.
y'all. What y'all doing?
Exactly. Versus if we get out and we're walking on foot,
Yeah.
hey, how you guys doing today?
Yeah,
What's
engaging.
up, man?
Well, but let me ask you this: some will say, "Is that safe?"
Well, then maybe we need to go. Maybe you need to have 2 foot beats, close by each other,
Mhm.
But I definitely think when you get a chance, because when you and I used to work in the area that we patrolled,
Mhm.
you start to get to know shop owners, you start to
Yeah.
get to know certain people,
Mhm.
and they'll look for you. Even like, I remember one day you weren't there and I was there. We switched, and they're like, "Hey, where's your partner?"
Yeah.
Every time I see you, I see her, and I see her, I don't see. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
start to develop those relationships. And I
Yeah.
keep saying it. I've heard somebody say it's true. Once you start building that equity, if something emotionally charged happens, they'll be like, "Well, hey, I know those officers, and those are good officers.
Mhm.
Let's find out first before we just jump on the bandwagon or we just believe whatever social media says."
Right.
So
Right.
I think going back to stronger community-based policing,
Mhm.
and just getting to know people in the area that you patrol, I think will pay major dividends.
Mhm.
Major dividends.
What about, so one of the areas that I focus on too is officer wellness, right?
Mm.
And I don't know if you are aware, but suicide is the number one cause of death in officers nationally.
Yes, I did know
Number
that.
one, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep talking about it and keep saying that because I think it needs to get out there more.
Yeah. Mental health is
Because
important.
we
Huge.
need to do more with that, right?
Because when you show up as a better version of yourself, ultimately you give a better version of yourself. You patrol better. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the area of emotional, I'm sorry, in the area of health and wellness,
mhm.
what are, if you have some, I guess, one, have you had any challenges, struggles, um, and what did you do if you had them to kind of, I guess, navigate that or to make sure your wellness is intact?
Well, one is I sought counseling. Um, and I talked about it earlier. When you put on the badge and the uniform, you just kind of you're just this robot. But um, and there's this negative stigma with law enforcement and counseling, like, oh, he's all messed up, or oh, yeah, he went to see counseling. What's wrong with him? But when you do talk and you do seek out that counseling, it makes you feel better. It feels good to talk. So uh, there's nothing wrong with counseling and seeking and asking for help. It's actually, a sign of strength. And the commonality that you find between the suicide is, officers feel like they can't talk to anybody, or they don't want anybody to know that they're vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
they're weak,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want that perception. They can't hack it. But that's far from the truth.
Yeah, and I bring that up because it affects the way that the officers interact with the.
It
with
affects
the-
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it affects the community.
And that's what I said. When you show up as a better version of yourself,
Yeah.
you are able to give
Yeah.
better service.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. And I think it's something that hopefully the community can take into account as well as officers to make sure they are doing their part to be able to present themselves better or in a healthier way
Yeah.
when they're interaction with the community. And so now I want to ask you.
Ooh, I'm getting nervous here.
No, it's an easy one. It's an
You
easy
gonna ask
question. It's an
me?
easy question.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. You're
I
fired.
love these
You're
buttons.
fired from the buttons.
Love them.
So what do you wish people knew about officers that really rarely get said?
You know, that we are really funny. Like, I mean, I think if people heard the
The
way
banter.
the banter. There you go. The banter between us. The banter. I mean, some of the best conversations you and I've had is in the patrol car.
Facts.
Or when we're driving away. We're like, please, you know?
This one story just popped. This one call. Do you remember the call? I can't. We have to discuss it first.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to have to weed it out.
But I mean, to this day, yeah, you're right. I like that. I didn't think about that. You're right.
The banter, you know? Like, and I think if they saw that, they would see the humanistic side. They would say, yeah, you know what? These officers are really cool. And, you know, like, I remember, to me, one of the biggest compliments I got was, you know, working in Venice, you know, that skateboard community is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And usually there's negative interaction between skaters. But this one kid comes up and says, you know what, man, I don't like cops, but I like you. You're all right. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're fair, you're funny,
Mhm.
and, you know, you're cool. So
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Well, good job, huh?
Skater? What? You know?
You was feeling yourself. a
Yeah,
little
he
bit,
was
huh?
like, you know, no, for real, I'm gonna let people know that, you know, you're fair, you know, you crack jokes here and there, but you're funny, but you know what? You know, you treat people with respect. So yeah.
That's what's up. And you know, I like that answer. And I can't. I'm gonna try to tell the story without telling the full story. And when I tell you,
Ooh.
you're gonna laugh because
Okay.
to this day, I think it was the most humorous call that we've ever had.
Please.
We
Enlighten.
went to a call of a loud disturbance. Okay,
Okay.
in this apartment row area.
I think I know where you're going. Uh-oh.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
and look at the address, and you're like, "Where is it?" I'm like, "Oh, it's this one right here." Right, and I'm directing us. Okay, and we go.
Oh, my God.
And I'm gonna try to make sure I tell this with. So we go and we knock on the door, and we learn by walking up to the door.
Yeah, what happened before though?
We learned by walking up into the door that this couple was engaged in sexual activity inside the room, inside
No,
the
you
apartment.
gotta paint a better picture than that.
No.
They are making out. They got the windows wide open, and they're making out right in the living room.
And
And
by making out, we mean full on having
Yeah.
sex.
And we were just like,
Listen, no,
both of us were like, whoa.
right. This is very true, right? So we
Yeah.
keep going. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go. So, and we're kind of laughing. We're like, well, we guess we know what the loud disturbance is,
Yeah.
right?
And the woman is going,
Oh my God, we don't need
Yeah.
all the extras.
Well, she
Kill the
just-
ad libs.
okay.
So we're gonna edit your ad libs out.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
There's a
we
lot
go.
of noise.
We go. I knock on the door, and long story short,
No, you forgot
obviously-
something.
Mm.
You forgot something. Okay.
What did I forget?
Okay.
So we go to the door. I knock on the door, and obviously they're stunned, right? And they're thinking, you know, the world's coming to an end, and apparently they're running and, you know, doing all kind of stuff, which is I thought was always interesting. Like, why are you guys running if you guys whatever?
True.
Anywho, so we knock on the door, and the guy comes. And he's out of breath and all the things. And I'm like, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt your night. However, we got a call of a loud disturbance here, and we just want to make sure everyone's okay. And we couldn't just like, people are like, well, why, if you saw what they were doing, why'd you just walk away? We can't, y'all. We have to at least make contact with someone, right? Because
do you remember what he said? Do you remember what he said?
I do. He said, ma'am, you just don't understand. This is the worst time ever that you could be knocking on this door. He was so distraught. Poor guy. He was so distraught. He was so distraught.
Well, he said, you guys have no idea how bad your timing is.
Yes.
And we were like, we kind of have an idea.
So I'm talking to the guy and we're like, yeah, it's a loud disturbance. He's like, a loud disturbance here? And I was like, yeah. And I told him the address. This is, I don't remember the address. I was like, this is, 456 apartment A, right? I'm just making that up. Mm-hmm. Right? And I tell him like, right? As in like, bro, you know what you're doing in there. Stop acting like it's just quiet and you guys are reading books, right? And he looks at me and he goes, no, this is not the address for that. And I pause and I look at you and you're on the other side and you're just, everything in you is keeping a full on bust out laugh from coming out. And I'm trying to hold it together because I'm like, oh my God, we went to the wrong address. And I'm like, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We thought that it was this. He's like, no, it's okay. People do actually mix it up all the time. It's actually that apartment. And he points across the hall. And I was like, I'm so sorry. You have a good night. Wait, but look.
Bad address, but they were talking about them. They had to. It was loud.
No, because we went to the other place and it was, well, whatever. So as we were walking off, I don't know if you remember this, but I always remember as we were walking off, we walk off quietly, right? Because we're both like, I can't believe we just did that to that poor guy.
Yeah.
So we're walking back to the car. We get away from the apartment and we're walking back to the car to actually go to the real address. I remember when we got to the car, we both grabbed the car door. We look up at each other. And we both just start crying. I mean,
I don't remember that.
Full on bust, just wipe. I was like, I gotta wipe my tears. I gotta wipe my face before I even go to the next call because that was just hilarious. But to your point,
we killed his night.
The humor, I think, you're right. I don't think people talk about that enough. Even though we do have some odd humor, I think officers, we do have sometimes we can have a very particular humor that people may not always get. It's kind of a coping, let's be honest. It's a coping mechanism that we use to kind of deal with all the trauma that we are exposed to.
Absolutely.
But I like that answer, man.
Yeah.
It got a whole funny story out.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny that you remember that because I thought you were going to talk about the one that I thought was probably the funnier one is when you and I were on ATVs where we stop a guy that we know. You were searching his backpack. Mm-hmm. This guy had a warrant, so we get ready to arrest. You open the backpack and you bust up laughing. He didn't want us to go in the backpack.
Okay.
He was like, oh, please, whatever you do, just don't go in the backpack. Don't, please. And when you tell us as officers don't go in the backpack, we're going to go in the backpack. But
legally.
Yes, legally. Thank you. You go in the backpack and you start dying. You got tears in your eyes.
I don't remember.
And I was like, yo, let me see. But officer safety, I'm with the arrestee. You finally switch out. I opened the backpack and then I started dying.
What was it?
And he goes, oh, guys, I knew it. You guys were going to laugh. It was something that was used for,
God.
It was.
I don't remember.
It was an instrument. It was an instrument in his backpack. He did not want us to see. And it was something that him and his girlfriend enjoyed.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine.
Yes.
I don't remember that, and I'm glad
you don't remember that?
I do not.
Oh,
I do
God,
not, and I'm glad
hilarious.
I don't. Well, listen, look. I think this has been a great conversation. And it was so great that I think we're going to turn this into a series, you guys.
Oh.
So we want you to come back, okay? We want to talk about all the things that you guys want us to talk about. So if you have any questions, any topics, anything that you want us specifically to talk about in this Black and Blue series, let us know in the comments below, okay? Jed, thank you for coming, man. I'm looking forward to
episode 1.
Hey, thanks for coming on, dude. I think that we're gonna have some great conversations. We can provide some not specific, some different insight, or some unique insight, I should say.
I think so.
Some unique insight into what it's like to be a Black officer. I hope that you all learned something specifically to, one, the history of law enforcement, as well as, what it's like for us as Black officers. We hope that you can tune in more to the rest of our series. And again, if you want to have a conversation with me, with us even, feel free to contact me. My contact information is in the bottom of this video. And listen, thank you for watching. As always, don't forget, if you show me your human side, I show you mine. All right, y'all. Peace.